making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Welcome to Tea Time. We are back. It is afternoon tea time, and I am joined with my amazing friend, supporter, and sister of Sacred Hearts Rising. That's right. I have Jennifer Grenier in the house this afternoon with me, and we're going to talk about relationships. Why? Because we're in a friendship, we're in a relationship, and that we just need some more information out there on relationships. And I have the good, amazing Jennifer here that's going to share because she is an entrepreneur, relationship coach, marketing strategist, best-selling author, homeschooling mom. She's all of it, and we're going to get her in here, and she's going to spill some good, strong TEA with all of us this afternoon. So before we get all of that going, we're going to do the disclaimer, we're going to do bio, we're going to do all that good stuff, and then we're going to share this tea, subscribe to the channel, get everything going, and we're going to have a good old TEA with some sisters this afternoon. And then this evening, we'll be closing up with Erica Scott, so stay tuned for that. So disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that the show is engaging in discussions, forums, only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all Tea Time shows are done on Thursday in 2023 at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or a rescheduled tea time is done on a Monday or Tuesday. So now let me get a little bit of Jen's bio out here, and then we're going to get Jen to pop in here, and she's going to spill a good tea because I see her in the back there pondering on her tea. So she's steeping her tea and getting ready for all of you guys. So Jennifer Grenier is a heart-centered woman with a passion to inspire. By sharing her story with authenticity to allow individuals to feel seen and heard, and to guide them through the change they desire for a better life. She is passionate about helping people discover their joys and to empower them to pay it forward. Jennifer does this with grace and gratitude and the guidance of God. Jennifer is a co-author in the best-selling anthology series Sacred Hearts Rising, where she shares about her grief, abuse, and triumph. Jennifer is equally dedicated to her faith, family, career, and business partners. Jennifer has been a personal development in relationship marketing and online business strategist and coach teaching and coach teaching women how to step out of their comfort zone and live their dream life for over 5 years. Jennifer is a child of God, a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. She is a homeschooling mom, as I've said earlier. Alongside being an entrepreneur, she enjoys spending time with her loved ones, reading, journaling, gardening, traveling the mountains, and being beside the water, which we both enjoy doing. So I'm going to get Jen in here and I'm going to sip on my tea. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me, Liz.
Oh, it is an honor. I have been so excited to have you. Like we have had such a journey together that we're going to get into later in the show, but I want to start off, Jen, how I start off with everybody. So who is Jen as a little girl and who is Jen now?
Jen as a little girl was a shy, quiet, um, pretty reserved little girl who um, probably kept to herself, but had big dreams, big ambitions, and had a really loud voice inside of her that was like ready to share, just needing the tools on how to share. And where I am now is speaking, sharing my story of everything that I've been through, everything that I have learned through the years, all the trials, all the triumphs, just being that real, authentic self to myself, but then sharing that in a vulnerable way um, for inspiration for other people.
So Jen, how did we meet?
No, how we met through my husband actually.
It's
You
such
were
as one.
curious about yeah, you were curious about the business that I was doing, and but God had bigger plans for us, and it led us down a path of meeting actually through writing, rather than through working and becoming business partners together. We became sisters, and through writing our stories and sharing our stories with others. Yes.
So Jen, you say we met through writing and we share almost similarities in our stories, but they're completely different. But we actually connected through our stories, reading and getting the inspiration and motivation to share more, you know. And you've always been
Yeah.
that big supporter of pushing me and you've always had my back and said, let's go, let's go, let's go, you know. And I finally got to meet you, I believe it was in 2018 in Edmonton when I came for the summit. Was it 2018 or
Yeah.
2019? Was one of those
I
years.
believe it was I believe it was 2018. Yeah. Yeah. And then that's when we went to the event in Edmonton, and I met you in person. And then that's the following year is when I decided to write my first story. Or yeah, I think it was later in that year when I shared my first chapter in Sacred Hearts Rising. That was actually published the next year. That's what happened.
So let's get into the books first, and then we're going to get into the relationship. We're going to get into your business as well. For anybody that would like to know more about Jen's business, the website is on the screen, so you can check that out while we're going live. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or you can directly email or message Miss Liz through my messenger on my Facebook page, and I will get those questions out to Jen. So Jen, let's talk about book three because you were in book three first and then book four. So I got book three here. So for anybody that would like to go and grab a copy, you can grab them. They're on Amazon, Sacred Hearts Rising. And Jen, your story's in this book. So can you share a little bit about what your story was in this one?
In the first chapter that I wrote in book three, it was my journey from the age of 13 to the age of 30. In that time, I don't want to give too much away because I want you to also go in, pick up the book and read it for yourself and read the other stories that are in there as well, because there is so many stories of not just women, but men and children as well, of just overcoming and that resilience in their own life and their story to be able to give someone else hope through whatever they're going through. There is so many stories in those books that it'll resonate with somebody in one way or another. But my particular chapter was just on that journey that I went through between the age of 13 and 30. And let me tell you, it was a ride. It was, it was a ride. There was the birth of my daughter, the death of her father, abuse, um, trying, that path down a dark, dark place in my life, and then coming out and finding the light. And that was through the grace of God. I spent a lot of time in prayer and asking for direction and that guidance of, finding healthy relationships, and not continually keep going down a path of that repeated cycle of abuse, and wanting more for my daughter's life and my life.
So, Jen, I'm just going to read a sentence here on the last page of your chapter. It says, "The year I turned
Mm-hmm.
30 was my turning point." So, what happened at 30?
It was like an aha moment. I had a wake up call, and I realized what was happening in my life up to that moment wasn't serving me, and it wasn't serving my family, wasn't serving my daughter, the ones around me, my loved ones, and I had to make the change. It had to stop somewhere, and it had to stop with me. Um, so I had to be clear on what I wanted in my life, and no longer, I had to set boundaries, to protect myself and to protect my daughter and to protect my future. Like I didn't know of course, the direction my life was going to go in, but where I was then to where I am now, it's like night and day, right? But it had to stop somewhere, and it was just a realization of like, I've lived for 30 years and I want to continue living, but the path that I was going down wasn't healthy.
So, Jen, what got you to write in book 4?
Which, sorry,
You wrote in book
what did I
4. So,
write
let me
in book
hold up book 4.
4? Okay.
So, what got you to write in book 4?
Book 4 was more of my journey of grief, and I don't know, I don't, I don't want to hold myself to a higher standard, but I feel like the amount of grief that I've went through in my life has far outweighed. I mean, there's people that I know that are way older than me that have never experienced the amount of grief that I experienced in a short time. Um, right from a young age up until just a few years ago, there's been numerous passings in my life that have really shaped me to be who I am today, because I've learned something from every one of those relationships that I had that are no longer here with me, but they still hold a place in my heart. So I take those as teachable moments and life lessons that I can then apply for myself and my family. And I cherish those relationships very near and dear to my heart for sure.
So, in your chapter in that book is called "Through Heartache Comes Strength."
Hmm.
How did you get that title?
Because through those, like I said, through those relationships that, um, through the passings of, it's not just people that I talk about in, um, and I even share about living grief in that as well, because it's, I feel it's even harder. That's my opinion. And it's something that I really strive to learn from. Like, I don't dwell on the losses. I don't dwell on the grief. I move through that, in my own time, of course. I mean, everyone's healing journey and grief is completely different. It looks different. The time wise is different. And I have compassion for every person in that respect, because every single person will go through grief in one way or another in their lifetime. And that's their journey. And I took that and I used it as a way to dig deeper, and how can I take my pain to then help someone else. But I had to go through it and move through it, and find tools and different ways to heal myself, to then be able to share that with others, to be hope and inspiration for others as well, right?
Well, and grief has a way of making us stronger. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people
Yeah.
look at grief as weakness. It's not. It's
No.
it's everlasting love that continues
Yeah.
on, you know, and
Yeah.
it gives us a whole new life. Like,
It
it
does.
changes us. We have to learn
Yeah.
to live without the loss of that person. And like you said, Jen, living grief, the grieving the living is hard. That's something we
Yeah.
both live with, and it's hard to explain to others that don't understand it, that don't go through it. you know
Very
uh,
true.
the grief of someone who's passed, we know they're never coming back. But the grief of
Yeah.
somebody who's living, they're right here, they're
Yeah.
present, but it's
Yeah.
like they're gone, but they're not. So
Yeah.
what has your grief taught you, Jen?
Grief has taught me to really live in the moment and cherish every single second as it passes by, because it can be taken away in an instant. And really live my life to the fullest with the people that, I hold near and dear to my heart. But I'm I'm not chasing. I'm here, I'm me. If people want to be in my circle, the like Liz, her table's open, my table's open as well. But there's boundaries there. And it has taught me to have boundaries. It has taught me to protect myself and protect my loved ones. But it's given me the strength in I'm not in this alone. There's so many other people that are going through this. And I lean on God for that support. And in time of prayer and in time of, you know, the heaviness, I give it to him because it's not mine to carry.
And I think that's something we both have uh, together, is our strong faith in God. you know
Mm-hmm.
um, we turn to him for strength. And there's days where we're both just struggling, and we're just like, okay, it's just a really hard day, but guide me a little bit, give me a little bit of push. And I feel that's what our relationship has done as a friendship, is we push each other. We kind of look
Yeah.
out and, oh, there's something not right, like, you know uh just like I can tell when Jen is off and there's something bugging her. So, and Jen can do the same with me. She's like, we're not playing that game, we got each other here. We're just like, what's going on? So, Jen,
Yeah.
I want to get into your tea, because I think it's a good time to get into your tea, and then we're going to get into the work that you do. So, if I give you the letters TEA, what words would you give me today?
So for T, I'm going to go with teaching. For the E, I'm going to go with empowering. And for A, I'm going to go with aspire.
Oh, she really was back there working it up. I do talk to my guests before they come on, so I know what they're doing. So, Jen, do you want to tell me why you gave me those three words?
So I teach by example and I try to lead by example. I'm not perfect by any means, and I don't live to preach that I'm perfect by any means. I have faults, I make mistakes, I do things, but those are all teachable lessons for myself. And then they're also teachable lessons for other people too, right? So I really do what I do with passion and with heart. And to be able to teach that to other people, it's meaningful to me. And um, it's for a purpose. Like, I've went through everything I've went through in my entire life to be the person I am today. And to be able to give those little pieces of advice or those little nuggets that have helped me along the way in whatever way they are, that's a teaching moment for me, right? So if somebody comes to me and says, well, how do you do this or how do you do that? How do you have so much joy in your life after so much loss? Well, my teachable moment for that would be I lean on God for that, or how do you do this? Well, this is the tools that I use. I had a friend reach out to me yesterday asking me if I've ever been to therapy before and if I could give her some recommendations. And I did that. These are tools that I've used in my life to be able to then pass them on. That's a teachable moment for myself.
So empowered.
Yeah.
Why that word?
Empowering. same thing. I think it goes hand in hand with the teaching. You know, I didn't go through what I've went through in my life just to sit on the chair and do nothing. I'm here to share my story, to be able to empower other women, you know, and men too, and children as well, to stand up for themselves, have a voice, speak what comes from their heart, and be that true, authentic self to themselves, to then be able to give that to the world. You know, we all have a story, and through our stories, we can empower others in whatever way. The person that's there watching you and taking it all in is going to get it in their own way. Yeah.
Well, it's in their own way, in their own time, right? And that's
Yes,
something that,
exactly.
you know, we can't force anybody to understand it or to, put themselves in our shoes when they don't even
Mhm.
understand it. Sometimes you just got to let it
Yeah.
go. You just got to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, Lord, what am I doing with this? And let it go.
Yeah.
You're never
And
going
he
to get an answer
aligns,
sometimes, right?
yeah, he aligns those relationships when they're meant to be. When someone is meant to come into your life, they will come into your life. When someone's meant to go out of your life and leave your journey, they that relationship falls apart. And it doesn't mean that it's fallen apart forever. Maybe sometimes there's things that need to be worked on either party, both to get, so be it. But it the Lord works in mysterious ways, and he brings people together, and he takes them apart at times in your life when you unexpectedly don't even realize where they're coming from, what their story is, but that alignment is there for a reason.
Right?
Yeah.
He connects the dots and he cuts the dots and then he reconnects the dots at a later time. You're like, oh, I thought this person was gone out of my life. And then 5 years later, this person's coming back. And you're like, oh, why? What do I gotta learn now? Right? Right
Yeah.
away, we go on that defense mode, right? We go on to, oh,
Yeah.
what are we doing with this again? But sometimes
Yeah.
people change. People want forgiveness. People
Yeah.
realize that they've done wrong and they just want to come back and mend. There's nothing wrong with
That's true.
mending. My first
Exactly.
story in Sacred Hearts, Jen, that the one that you read was my broken porcelain doll, and that's all I've done is just I keep mending the pieces, you know, uh,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's what we have to do in life is we have to mend, right? So let's get into your A. Your A is aspire,
Aspire.
aspire.
Yeah.
I
Aspire.
can't even talk anymore. Like, ugh. So why that
And
word?
then,
Like that shocked me. Why that word?
well, it stood out to me in the respect of back again. Like my story can then help to direct someone else to just be whole again. You know what I mean? For a really long time, I did not feel whole. And, you know, to achieve something more in life than just being is, I've had people in my life that I've looked up to, have that inspiring kick that I needed at times, like when I was feeling really low and I'm like, well, if this person can do it, so can I. She's no different than me, or he's no different than me. We're all just human. We're all just trying to get through the daily stuff in life. So if they can do it, why can't I do it? What's stopping me? And then it gives me that time and that reflection to dig and do the work. And then there I go. So if if I can give some sort of little piece of hope for someone to do something more in their life and really flourish to be who, their God given purpose. We're all here for a reason. So, what's your purpose? Right?
So Jen, I want to get into your one word because we're doing your words right now with T. But I want to get into your one word. I asked you one word to describe yourself as an individual, and you gave me
Mm-hmm.
gracious. Why
Okay.
that word?
Yes, I did. That was actually a really tough one for me. I'm like, one word about myself? What?
It is a hard thing. People ask you one word to describe yourself. Ooh.
It's
So why
actually,
that?
I actually reached out and I asked some people very close in my life if you could describe me in one word, what would it be? And they brought me all these other words, and through all those words, I come up with gracious because I was like, okay, yeah, I can see that in myself. I can see that in myself. I was kind of treading a little bit there. And I mean, I do everything from my heart. And sometimes I wear my heart on my sleeve and it gets shattered. And I know there's a lot of people that live their life like that, and so for me, and my one word being gracious, it's I'm a giving person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I have a big huge heart. My heart has been broken many times, but I always find a way to repair it and keep moving forward, and just with grace, right? Through the grace of God is how I live my life. And I just I want to be able to give back in all different ways and just have that grace with myself and with everyone else, because I do know that what someone else is going through, I may not understand, but to have that grace with them, I can still love them even though I don't have to walk with them, right? And so gracious was my word because it ties into so many different things.
I like that you said that, Jen. We can still love people, but we don't need to walk with them, right? We let them walk and find their own journey, their own path. And sometimes it brings them back to where we are, and sometimes
Yeah.
we just have to let them go. And sometimes we're like, oh, why couldn't you do that? Why, you know, I thought this was your thing. And then you surprise me and you do this and you do that. And I'm just, you know, I think
Yeah.
things happen in life that we're kind of like thrown back, right? Especially when we wear our hearts on our sleeves. And we have a question here for you,
Yeah.
Jen. Because of your loss at such a young age, do you feel that that has driven you to who you are today?
It's a big part of it. Yes, it is. Um, I it's given me that perspective on life of like life can be gone in an instant, and I mean there was a really windy path for a long period of my time where I was trying to discover who I was, and I felt like I had to be this certain person because of the things that were happening in my life. But then that alignment wasn't happening, and there was more that just kept coming and coming and coming. And until I kind of like dissected all that other stuff and created those boundaries and stuff like that. So loss at a very young age has really helped me to blossom into the person I am today, for sure, 100%.
I think, and it makes us heart centered by losing at
Yeah.
such a young age, whether it's
Yeah.
loss through abuse or loss through someone
Mhm.
passing. You know,
Yeah.
it really makes our hearts whole
Yeah.
inside, right? The inner child really gets protected of our little
Yeah.
hearts, and we wear everything on our sleeves and we just want to give, 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 give until we
Mhm.
fall apart. And then we're like, why did we fall apart? Well, because we keep giving and people just keep taking, right? So, and like that's why I asked you what your grief taught you, and you said it set boundaries. It showed you how to set boundaries, and I think that's what grief does for a lot of us. Is it shows us that we need to set boundaries. We need to say, you know what, I'm going to grieve for a year. You might grieve for 2 years, but this
Yeah.
is my boundaries. Let me do it my way. Let me serve the way I
Yeah.
want to serve. You know, and again, the faith, the God driven power of that's within us because we
Yeah.
went through so much at such a young age, right? And
Yeah.
I love your chapters 13 to 30. Isn't there a movie like that with Jamie Lee Curtis or something? There, or was it like
Actually,
Freaky Friday or something? I'm trying to think of the mother and daughter switch places or something
yes,
that I had
yes,
seen.
yes.
That's
That
what your
actually,
title. I
I
was
didn't even
like, I
think
see
that
the
till
movie.
now. Yes, that is, yeah. I don't know if that's the exact title, but I do know which one you're talking about now that you say it.
I'm pretty sure it's Jamie Lee Curtis, and she has a
Yeah,
rock star daughter, and she turns into the little rock band player,
yeah,
and then she turns into the mom, and yeah,
yeah.
it's a good movie, guys.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just where my mind goes when I'm thinking of things, I'm just like, there's a movie, there's a song, there's something. Let's bring it together. I'm just that weirdo, guys. Yep, Miss Liz is one over to Cuckoo's Nest, and that's a good show too, and a good book. So, Jenna,
Yeah,
I want to get into you do quite a few businesses online.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into the send cards, and then we'll get into your home
Okay.
business.
Okay. So I am a relationship marketing coach with Send Out Cards, and I absolutely love this company. I've been with them for almost 2 years, and the mission behind the company is it's near and dear to my heart. When the company was first introduced to me, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." And what it is, it's personalized greeting cards that you can design and send to anyone, right? And the mission behind the company, the founder, he had he was moving from his hometown and he was moving away and yeah, that's one of the cards that I had made for Liz and sent it to her with some of the pictures when I went to Ottawa, and it was so special. And that's what I love about it. It's to act on your promptings, right? When somebody pops into your mind, somebody pops into your heart, you want to say thank you, you want to say happy birthday, you want to, just anything, just say hello, right? Um, we have these promptings all the time, but how often do we actually act on it? And what I love about it is you can actually put the app on your phone and you can send a card right from your phone to the person directly. You can send just a card. They have gifts that you can attach. It's really cool. But the founder of the company was moving, and he was like, oh, I should say goodbye to my brother, but he actually didn't. He drove off with his family and what have you. And a few months later, he got a call that his brother passed away, and he felt really, he was torn inside because he didn't act on that prompting to say bye to his brother. And it touched me in a really, really personal way because my sister, same thing. She went away on a holiday and she never returned home. She passed away on that holiday, and I mean, I miss her dearly every single day. Um, but really to tell people that you love them and you're thinking of them and you care about them anytime. It doesn't have to be for a specific reason or a specific holiday or whatever. And so when I came across that company, I'm like, oh yes, I love this. I love the mission behind it. I love everything about it. And it's super easy and affordable. And why not? So I was like, I'm going for it. I'm going all in. And I've been sending cards to people just randomly or for specific occasions, for specific reasons, for almost 2 years. And who doesn't love happy mail? Like, we get all these things in the mail that make us sad and want to crawl in a hole. But when we get something of appreciation in the mail from someone else, just to say, I've been thinking of you, like, how does that make you feel? For me, it makes me feel so happy. Like, my heart is full. And I know that the recipients of the cards that I send, their hearts are full too. So our
Yeah,
world needs more of that.
because when I received my first card, it made me cry. I was just like, oh my God, like, how did she do this? How did she put these pictures in there? Because we had such an amazing time when Jen came down to Ottawa. She was one of my guest speakers when I was
Yeah.
Leaders for Change for Sacred Hearts. And Jen came down and she was one of my speakers, and we had a blast. Like, we went, I showed her all over
We
Cornwall
had
and
so much
everything. And I want to share this story. This is one story that really sits with me when Jen came to visit. We picked her up at the airport in Ottawa, and we were downtown, down by the Parliament and everything. And Jen looks at me and she taps me and she says, "What is that?" And I'm like looking all over. What am I looking at? What am I looking for? And she's like, "What is that thing on the street?" And I was like, "The black squirrel?" And she's like, "I've never seen a black one." I've seen brown and gray, but I've never seen black. And that it makes us chuckle all the time. Me and Paul, we always chuckle when we hear. And then you had told me a few weeks ago about Joel seen one. So I was just like, oh my God, that just reminds me of Jen so much. Like the black squirrel. Every time I see a black squirrel, I'm like, hi, Jen.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
actually named them
Well,
after
it's
you
that
now.
connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's building, it ties that back into building that relationship and that friendship and that connection, right? It's something that, I mean, years later, we still talk about that time, right? And that's what relationships are about. It's building those connections. And, Liz and I don't talk every single day, but when we do talk, we can go like months without talking. And then when we talk, it's like we talked yesterday, right?
So I think both of your businesses align together, Jen, because with the card,
Mm-hmm.
it's personalized, it's passion, it's heart centered.
Yeah.
So your online business, what type of business
Yeah.
is that?
Our online business is just a coaching and mentorship business where we teach people how to use social media and just put themselves out there and share their story and be authentic for other people in hope and inspiring someone else that they can work online too, right? Um, it's not absolutely for anybody. I mean, there's work involved. It's not like you just post a picture and away you go and your business grows. It's not like that. But my job as a mentor and coach is to teach people how to do that, right? I set up that time one-on-one. There is actual training that it's step-by-step video module based training. So it's easy. And what I love about the community is it's such a diverse community. When I first started, I think there was around 3,000 people in that community. Now we're approaching the 200,000 mark, right? And they have been a light of inspiration for me in some of my darkest days. When I first started my business, my sister had just passed away just prior to that. And there was many days that I just sat there reading all of their different posts of, inspiring their own stories, right? They were inspiring to me and it gave me hope, right? And so that's what I love about it. And so now I'm able to then um, be that light for somebody else, right? To know that I'm no different than anybody else. I go through trials and triumphs just like everybody else. But what kept me up at night, wanting something more in life, wanting that change for something different. But I had to take matters into my own hands. I also wanted to help my husband contribute to the household finances and stuff like that. But I needed something that I could do from home or have that flexibility to be able to like still work and still provide, but be there for my family through some really, really tough times in our life. So that's what I love about it. And I love those connections. Through the 3 years where the world shut down, we were still growing. We were still building our businesses. We were still connecting. Yes, it was through, online platforms like this, but we were still growing and we were still connecting and still keeping that human connection alive, right?
So, Jen, we have another
Yeah.
question here for you. Okay, let me
Yeah.
just kind of put this together. It's like a little paragraph here. So, do you feel that
Can
building
you repeat that?
relationships? Yep, I'm just putting it all together because it's a
Mhm.
paragraph here.
Okay.
So, do you feel that?
Yeah.
How do I want to word this? Do you feel that online business can make a strong relationship develop? Yeah. So, do you feel that online business creates a personal development, the strength?
Yeah. The online business develops personal restraints. Is that what it said?
Yeah.
I would not, I personally, I wouldn't say that because when you're putting yourself out there, like we talked about earlier, and you're building those connections, the people that are aligned to you are going to be the ones that are going to be connecting to you. Um, yeah, sometimes we have some people that come and it's not for them, and that's fine. They're not tied in for the rest of their life. I'm just here um, as a teacher and as that connection to then show them and provide them with the information for them to make the next step if that's what they choose to do, right? Um, so I wouldn't say that it causes restraints personally because it's really their choice, right? I'm just providing the information and the tools.
Oh, they're saying, do you find that they're okay? I think they're bilingual, so they're writing half French, half English here. Do you find that it causes tension to work online, like with relationships, like you working at home and your partner works somewhere else? Do you find that that causes a commotion, a restraint in the relationship?
Okay, repeat that again because you were breaking up just a little bit, so I missed the last part.
Okay, so from what I'm understanding here, and I'm sure they're gonna write back, do you find that there's a restraint caused by somebody working at home with a home business and somebody who's working outside of the home, but they're a couple? Is there a restraint there? So I'm
Oh,
guessing
if
that what they're
someone's work,
trying to ask, Jen, is if they worked at home and their partner worked outside of the home, does it cause restraint in the relationship? That's what they're trying to say.
no. That- okay, no, no, because um, a lot of people when they're coming into the online space, them themselves are even working outside of the home. So they're also doing their online business as a side hustle, right? To
Okay.
build more because we all know the times that we live in. It's expensive. We need to really work hard to have something to live for. If we want to retire. But when you find something that you love, it's not even like going to work. You just want to continue doing it. And so we have people in the community that are 18 to 80. You know what I mean? There's no restraints, and when you're there and your husband or your partner or your spouse or your wife, whichever way it is, if it's the gentleman that's coming in as a business owner and the wife is working, it doesn't cause the restraints because you're still working together. I started this business with my husband, and he was working full time. Then he came home for a period of time while we worked on some things together and just personally and stuff like that was going on in our life. He was home for 3 years and then he went back into the workforce again. And we complement each other well. He's there, he's supportive, he helps me when gives me that boost when I need it. Sometimes he gives me that little bit of a kick in the butt when I'm slacking a bit, pick it up, do something, uh, that sort of thing. So I wouldn't say there's a restraint there from what I've seen. I can't speak for everyone, but what I've seen and the business relationships that I've developed over the years, there hasn't been restraints.
Yeah, and they say they're sorry. Don't be sorry. They're coming in from France, so they're trying to
Okay, yeah, no, it's fine.
double language. Uh, so Jen, you
Yeah,
said
no,
that
that's okay.
you and Joel worked this business together while he was home for a bit. So do you encourage couples to do this?
That's just completely up to every individual, right? That if you want to work with your spouse, fine, give her, have fun, do it together. But if you want to do it solo, you can do it solo too. You don't need that. You don't need a spouse to be able to do it, right? And my husband is also French, so I understand. Like he grew up in a French home and stuff like that. So shout out to the people in France watching. But yeah, no, you don't have to. It's completely up to you, your own lifestyle, whatever works best for you, right?
So Jen, what got you into coaching?
The which, sorry, all I heard was coaching.
So what got you into coaching?
What got me into coaching? Just that passion of connecting and then teaching what I've learned to other people, right? So that's been just using what I've learned to help me grow and then being able to give that back to someone else, and to that respect, it's coaching, right? Using the tools, using the training, using the knowledge that I've learned in all different aspects, business and personal, to then be able to give it back to somebody else, provide them with the tools, right?
We got a couple more questions here for you. So, Jen, what is your favorite scripture in the Bible?
My favorite, my favorite scripture in the Bible is can do all things through Christ.
Wow, that would surprise me, that question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a question here for homeschooling. How does that work? Do you get sent the courses or do you
For which,
apply for
sorry?
courses? I think they want to know how to start homeschooling.
Homeschooling? Well, it depends what area of the world you're in, because there's different homeschool, like for me, I'm in Alberta. So you can unschool, you can homeschool, you can, there's different, we're a little bit more flexible in Alberta. Different places have different rules, and it depends where your child wants to go. Also, so me personally, I would just say look at what area of the world you're in and what resources you have, if there's a community there for you so you're not alone, and what the regulations are for that particular place that you are in the world. If your child wants to graduate and receive a diploma and go to post-secondary, there might be ways that you have to go about it there. Every place is different, so it really just determines where you are in the world and what the regulations are and where your child wants to go. Some people here, I know, just completely unschool up to grade 10. Then they choose by grade 10. Lots of times their child knows where they want to go, kind of in a direction in life. So then 10 to 12, they put them in those specific courses to prep them for post-secondary. So it's really kind of individually based on where you are in the world.
So, what got you started with homeschooling, Jen?
The pandemic. My daughter, she went to public school. She graduated high school, received her diploma years ago. My son started off in public school, and then the pandemic came, and everything was being, all the kids were being sent home. Everybody was being sent home, and we were being told to stay in our homes. And he, at that time, was just finishing grade 3. So I was like, okay. And then the next year, it was a little unsure of which way things were going, in the world. So we're like, okay, well, let's just do it homeschool this year. And we actually went through the school and did almost like correspondence through the school for grade 4, grade 5. We kind of unschooled and we just did our thing, and we life schooled, basically. We educated him through our lifestyle, right? Through homesteading, through different things, traveling, world experiences, all of that kind of stuff. Last year, we did have a program that we used, which was amazing. So there was, your core subjects, your math, your science, your social, your language arts, and there was a Bible study incorporated along with life skills and some different groups. He was in some different sports camps and different things for that interaction and socialization and keep him active, so he's not just sitting at home all the time. And then this year he's in grade 7, and we haven't really started our school year yet. We kind of start it more into October because September is kind of our, get back into routine month, and we have a lot of harvesting that we're doing and preserving and stuff like that from our garden. So he's very much involved in that, and we incorporate that into our homeschool journey. So it's a little bit different all the time.
That sounds really interesting because you harvest a lot. I seen all the
Yeah.
cucumbers you had, and I was like, I wish I was closer because I'm a cucumber. A cucumber a day keeps the belly away, guys. I'm telling you, try it. It actually keeps your belly away. So I want to get
Yeah.
into some of your hobbies that you do, Jen. So you do some gardening, journaling, traveling in the mountains. You travel a lot with Joel when because he's a truck driver, so you travel a lot. So what has been the biggest adventure for you so far in life?
Oh, wow. In my whole entire life,
Your whole
or
entire life. I'm going big, girl.
well, I love to travel. So anytime I get to travel, um, but it's kind of, I don't know, I'm a homebody too. So I love being at home. I love being in my space and in where, like, this is my comfort zone, right? So I love this, but I also love to travel and sightsee and experience other things in the world. So anytime I can go drive through the mountains or go by the water or any of that sort of stuff, I'm just completely in my happy place. But I also love to travel with my family. So when I get to travel and do those experiences with my family beside me, that's pretty special to me. So my first big trip was from Alberta to Newfoundland. That was
Oh,
years and years ago, and I did that with my daughter. Um, I last fall I took a trip with my daughter, my son, and my grandson. We drove from Alberta down to Las Vegas, Nevada, and back. That was an epic trip. It was beautiful. And then just going on little trips, like my husband took me to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. He took me to Whitehorse, Yukon. We did that with our son. Just doing all these different little trips, taking little family trips here and there. We went to go into BC from Alberta to go see some waterfalls. We did that with, our children and stuff like that. So any any of those. I mean, I like solo trips too, but I'm more for if my family can come along and experience it with me, then I'm all for it.
yeah, it's always nice to bring somebody along, right? I don't like I like traveling alone, but
Yeah.
I find it's more enjoyable when you have somebody with you to experience the same thing because you can say like,
Yeah.
look at that waterfall, look at that, and, look at that tree, look at that rock. Me, it's all driftwood. So like Paul says, he's gonna put driftwood around my home tombstone when I'm gone. So, um,
I
uh,
grew up camping and my husband grew up camping as well. So we do a lot of camping with our family and our children and our grandchildren. So that's really special to us too, is just keeping those little traditions going with our kids so they can experience that. And then in turn, if they so choose to do that with their children too, they can. And, going on the boating, going fishing, taking the kids tubing, just experiencing camping, and whether it's roughing it a little bit or if it's doing a little glamping, that's fine too. It's all fun. It's all an experience. And it's what the kids remember because I remember doing it way back till I was a little girl. And same thing with our children and grandchildren as well too. So it's just making those memories and spending time together.
yeah, you guys have to come and camp up this way so we can make some memories
One day
together,
we
right?
will. Our goal
So
is to buy an RV so we can travel and work at the same time because my business travels with me. So I'm not stuck in one place. All I need is my laptop or my phone and I can work. So my business will follow me wherever I go in my RV.
So, Jen, you say that you go to the water. Why do you go to the water for?
I don't really know why I love water. Well, maybe it's because I'm an Aquarius.
That might have something to do with it,
Maybe
right?
that's why. That's probably
But
the reason why. But no, I am totally grounded when I'm in water or by water or I can hear the water. I'm just calm. It calms me. So even through when I was going through really heavy grief, I would find myself having like showers or baths and just like really just like it was like a cleanse for me. I would go into deep thought and I would just release those thoughts and then I would just visualize all of that going down the drain, whether it was in the shower or washing down the drain in the bathtub. Um, Water is very grounding for me. It's cleansing.
I'm glad that you brought it back to the grief because grief should be something that we experience through the flow of water, through the flow of wind, snow, rain, you know. Uh, and water does calm the soul because it gives us that
Mm-hmm.
quiet time to kind of reflect and move, right? It's just the
Yeah.
movement. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I see with you, Jenna, is that the movement, you know. And I've seen
Yeah.
so much growth in Jen since I've met her in person and her coming here in person. So we both went to each other's ends. But I just see the huge transformation in you, Jen, from the first day that I met you. You
Thank
really
you.
have grown a lot, and you have been one of my biggest supporters out there. Jen was also
Mm-hmm.
one of my forward writers for book three, and I wanted to bring, she's in book three, A equals awareness. And the reason that I put her in that book was because I wanted the awareness of friendship, I wanted the awareness of relationships, staying
Yeah.
connected. Like Jen said, we don't always talk all the time, but when we do talk, we talk. So, and
Yeah.
I knew that Jen was going to come on Tea Time with relationships because Jen is a person who
Mm-hmm.
likes to build relationships. You have such a big heart, Jen, and you do put your heart on your
Oh,
sleeve, and I appreciate that. So, for anybody that would like to reach out to you, Jen, how could they reach out to you?
thank you. Thank you. You're so dear. You're so near and dear to my heart, and I cherish our friendship for all of my days. And I am forever grateful that our paths were aligned for sure because we're both destined for so many things in our life, and even through collaborations of of me sitting at your table sharing tea with you, um, we're both we're both speaking from our hearts in hopes of that inspiration for someone else.
So, Jen, if anybody wanted to reach out, could you read out your website for the audio listeners?
My website is https uh, backslash or is that forward slash? Okay, yeah, and then www.jenniferandco.ca. So it's www.jenniferandco.ca, and so that'll take you to my website, and you can find me on Facebook, Jennifer Grenier. Send me a message, and I can connect you to anything else that you might be interested in. Um, yeah.
So, Jen, before we wrap up, I want to get into your favorite color. We're going to wrap it up with your favorite color because your colors are amazing. I asked you your favorite colors and you said sunrise and sunset. So, do you want to tell us what color is your favorite color? Because I know what sunset and sunrise is, but for the listeners out there, what colors are your favorite colors?
Well, my growing up, my favorite color was always purple. I was so drawn to purple. I loved purple. I loved pinks. I loved blues. Um, as I become more grounded in life and go through so many different things and emotions and feelings, um, I love the colors of the sunrises and the sunsets. So the oranges, the yellows, the reds, um, and then with the nice soft blues in the backgrounds from the sky. And it for me that is it's it's a representation of a sunrise is a new day. God has given me a new day to share my story, share my life with the world, and a sunset is the representation of you know being grateful for that day and everything that has aligned in that day. So those are my favorite colors: is sunrise and sunset, just for those reasons of no particular reason for the color itself, but just the meaning behind the sunrise and the sunset and the happiness and the joy and the courage and the connection and that those colors bring. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jen. And it was an honor to sit and have tea with you, and get to know you a little bit more. For any of the viewers and listeners out there, if this tea resonated with you, please share it with a loved one or a business or a coworker who might be down and under looking for a coach to pick you up. I recommend you check out Jennifer because she does work from the heart. So if you're looking for somebody who's heart centered, Jennifer is the girl for you. And I will see everybody back here tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the last tea time of this week. And it will be with Erica Scott, and she'll be coming in with creating consent culture. So we'll be talking about the consent of your body. So the yes, the no, and the maybe. So it will be a triggering tea time. So the trigger warning will be up for that one. So I will see everybody at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to know more about Miss Liz, check out Miss Liz's website, www.misslizsteatimes.com. You can find all of these tea times on there, as well as on my YouTube channel and all of my podcast platforms as well. So Jen, again, thank you for joining me, and thank you to all the listeners and viewers. I truly appreciate all of your support, and I can't do it without you. So I will see everybody tonight at 7 p.m.